Okay, we'll get started and people will file in. Just as a note, this will be recorded and posted on YouTube, and I'll also send a follow-up email to everyone with a link to the deck, any materials that we cover, and a video recording so you can go back and look at it. I know there's some people that have already emailed me saying they can't make it, so this information will be available to you. But without further ado, we will get started. So thanks for coming today. My name is Nick from the Close.io team. As you may have seen, we launched SMS in Close.io last week, and it's just in the United States and Canada. We're going to roll out to other countries in Europe and in Asia very soon. So be on the lookout for that. But the point of this webinar is to go through a quick demo of Close.io and then also share some best practices that we've learned so far when you're starting to use SMS in your sales process, definitely from the perspective of B2B sales, which the majority of our customers are. So I will hop into the agenda for today. So I'm only going to speak for about 15 minutes. I really built in a lot of time here for questions as things pop up. The demo is going to be really quick. And I'll be going through some of the information, rather quickly. So not going to be an hour long. Depends on the questions that we get. But yeah, so this will be brief. So I'll go through a quick demo. We'll talk about some search queries that can help you really navigate the communication aspect of this and really build some good search queries to help your team find SMS that you've sent, as well as evaluate how well that type of communication is performing in comparison to calls or emails. Then I'll go through reporting. We've added SMS to all the activity reporting and Explorer, so you'll be able to see some examples there. And then I will go through sort of the educational piece of this, which is some best practices to go by, as well as a case study that happened by one of our customers. And then I'll stop periodically for questions. Everybody's on mute, just as a reminder, so please put your questions or any comments in the chat box, and I'll read them out to the crowd so we can get them answered for you. So let's get started. So let's hop right to Close.io here for a quick demo of how SMS works. So for SMS to work, you need to have a SMS-enabled Close.io phone number in the United States or Canada. So that means you need to have a calling plan. Usually your number will already be SMS enabled, but if you have any questions, just go send an email to support@close.io and they'll be able to help you just in case. We've had a couple of edge cases where maybe it hasn't been set up. So definitely reach out to us if you have any questions there. So the first place to start is on this lead here called Bluth Company. And SMS is really simple. It works just like calls and email. You're just going to click on the SMS button, and you're able to send an SMS. And the cool thing about this is you may be doing follow-ups or really working on sending out emails and different things later in the day, probably a time where it's probably not ideal for your contact to receive an SMS from you. So we've added send later, just like we did an email, to the feature here. So you're going to be able to go in and choose, I want to send this tomorrow at 9 a.m. We pre-populate some popular dates and times, but you can also go in and edit that. So you can schedule a SMS to be sent. So that it allows you to work at any time that you want, but then the SMS will be delivered at a time that's most appropriate. So that's right here in the lead view where you can send them. Replies also pop up, and they're focused here to where you can see, and then you have the similar done tasks, or you can snooze it to come back another time. You can also filter the SMS within the lead view. So that is the lead view part of this. The inbox portion of this is pretty cool because we've added the ability for you to actually reply right within the inbox. So if you just click on an incoming SMS item in the inbox, you can just then reply right to it and send it off, and then that task is done. So you don't have to switch context as you're going through and answering the different questions. Now, The interesting thing about SMS is that it's prone to have a lot of delivery errors. The issue is that with SMS as an infrastructure just on the internet, it's really difficult to confirm that the text has been delivered because we're sending the message from our carrier to another carrier that is handling that person's mobile phone or whatever device that they have. So we can't really confirm that it was delivered. So we get some insight. Uh, we get some insight into if our carrier accepted it or not, or the carrier that we sent it to rather got it or not. So really, you should be checking for error, to see if there are errors on a particular SMS that you sent out. So the way that you do that is in this search query that I'm putting together right now that just has SMS status error. And then you'll see, and then you can apply date ranges to that or today or different things, and I'll go through that in the search query portion of this. But you can actually click into it, and you'll see that there's an error, and then we have a error message that attempts to give you some context as to why. But again, this is another thing where it's very spotty depending on the carrier. So we want to just make sure and be clear that you may send an SMS, but the chances of it getting delivered are less likely than something like an email because the systems are pretty. The email system that you're using to send the email is the same as the system that's receiving it. That is not the case across carriers, especially as we start to roll this out to different countries. So just be aware that deliverability might be an issue with some of the numbers that you receive. Also, a lot of phone numbers that you have in your leads could be landlines, and they don't receive text messages. So it'll be important to dictate within the contact view if it's an office number or a mobile number when you're collecting that data, and really try to be clear about that so it can help the sales reps figure it out. So that is a demo of how SMS works in Closeo. Now, I do see a couple messages that have popped up in the chat, so I'll try to answer them here. I'm just reading them right now. Okay, Graham, that's a good question. I will address that in the B2B sales portion of this, which is coming up next, so I will address that. That's a good question. And then Michael, sending a mass text or bulk text, yes, you can do that, but not within Close.io right now. You can do it via the API. We actually just pushed, or I did a little script to help you actually send bulk SMS pretty easily. So I will share that in the email that I send out to everyone with the recording. So I will send that to you, Michael. And Graham asks, does the error message tell you if it's a landline or just a sending error? Sometimes. Usually it's just going to say sending error because the carrier doesn't know that it's a landline. It just knows that it didn't go through. So it's really, really spotty. We're trying to improve that with our carrier. They are trying to improve it. And we also think it's just an industry-wide issue. So we're working to improve that. So the short answer is don't expect to really get a bunch of great information from the error message. It will just tell you that it didn't go through, or we weren't able to send it. And then Tivan asked, how do we abide by CAN spam regulations with this tool? It's a good question. It's pretty much up to your own discretion. We have put sending limits on our users, and we do that through the 1,000 free credits that each organization gets per month. So every month your team is going to get 1,000 free SMS to send out. Incoming SMS are always free, and then you apply if you go above the 1,000 messages per month, you can apply a spending limit per month, and it's 1 cent per message that you send out. So that spending limit will then avoid you having someone on your team sending out a ton of spam messages in terms of the volume. But in terms of you sending a message to someone that you're not supposed to send a message to, or you didn't get permission to, that's something that you're going to have to handle on your own. And it's very similar with calling. If you have a list of phone numbers that you got from somewhere and you don't have permission to call them, or they're on a do not call list, you could fall into that as well. So it's not something that the software is going to actively prevent you from doing. It's going to be really the honor system on your own to do that. I hope that answers your question. Jeff asks, do replies to SMS show up in my inbox? So yes, I did cover that, but I will go back really quickly and show that they do show up. Right now I don't have one, but I'll try to send one here on the fly to have it show up as we're speaking here. This message should pop up in the inbox momentarily. And then Yvonne asks, so what is the main use case for SMS? So the main use case, which I'll go through next, is mainly for follow-ups, reminders, and check-ins with leads or contacts that you already have permission to contact. So let's say you cold emailed somebody or you cold called someone and you got in contact with them and you scheduled a demo or a next meeting. 10 minutes prior to that meeting, a couple days later, you can send them an SMS just to remind them that this meeting is going to happen. So it's meant to help increase the likelihood that they're going to show up to that scheduled appointment. So that's the main use case within our customer base that we have seen, and it's also what we do here at Close.io within our sales process. So that's what we believe to be the main use case right now. I hope that answers your question. So if we go back here to the inbox, this is back to Jeff's question. The SMS does show up when it's incoming, and then you can reply to it right in line. Maria asks, we monitor calls and emails right now. Where will SMS fall into? Maria, if you could add some more context in terms of monitoring, maybe I'll be able to answer the question better. Jeff asks if we can create SMS templates. Not currently. That is something that we are going to add. Just as a general rule, we are building SMS out in terms of features like we have with email. So like you see with being able to send an SMS later, just like you can send an email later or schedule an email for later, you should also be able to send an SMS template. So that's something we're actively working on and building, and you should expect that relatively soon. Now for going on to search queries, and then I'll come back to questions next, so we can move along the presentation here. But I definitely appreciate your questions. Hopefully it's been helpful to the others that have been listening. So with SMS, the reason why I wanted search queries to actually be a big part of this discussion is the formatting for SMS is slightly different than what maybe some of you are used to with your current search queries that you've put in Close.io, and this formatting works with calls and emails as well, or with opportunities. And basically the formatting that I'm referring to is that it's the name of the activity and then in parentheses. Now what this does, and this is the example you see here with SMS sent today with errors. So this query is meant to pull up all of the SMS that have been sent today that have errors on them. So by putting SMS in a parentheses and then declaring the status, the direction, and the date, it's only going to pull up SMS that have been sent today. Whereas if you were just to write SMS underscore sent, it could be sent from any time. So this is just really narrows it down and is a good way to search for SMS. And that is a good point, Liz. I will copy these into the chat. SMS sent today. And then now drafts created, I'll copy this in as I'm speaking. So SMS drafts created today is you may have a bunch of drafts that you've set up and you want to look at those. So this is just using different SMS statuses to see what's happening. The next one is inbound SMS from the last 3 days. So this is if you wanted to see all of the messages you've received from the last 3 days, that will help you narrow down and follow up with folks that maybe have been chatting back and forth with you, and you want to send them an email or you want to give them a call to try and really narrow down that lead list. And I think one of the more advanced queries that would work really well for figuring out the folks that have not responded to you, so you can use either sending another message or an email or a call, is the SMS that you sent yesterday that have not replied yet. So this is looking at all the SMS that you sent and then figuring out which ones have not received an inbound message yet. So that's a little bit more of an advanced query, but I think it's super useful. So I'll just, before I go on to the next thing, I will just double check or give people a moment to ask any questions about search queries. But one little pro tip here is you can definitely tweet at Close.io or at me, at Nick Persico, or at some of the other folks on the team that are a little bit more present on social media. You can message us or tweet at us questions about different queries, and we will reply back with what we think would work. Obviously, support is a great channel for that too, but I know a lot of folks like going back and forth on Twitter, so it's always exciting to chat back and forth with folks on different queries, because there's infinite number of different queries that you can use with the search system that we've built here. So, all right. Now, reporting. So this is the last chunk of the demo part, then we'll get to the educational piece here. So with reporting, the point I want to make here is that reporting, basically we've added SMS to every type of reporting that we have. So the most common one is activity reporting. So when you go into an activity report, you'll see SMS at the bottom, and then you'll see how many have been sent and received, and then you can look at that by user and check that out. We also have the Explorer, where you are able to look at different visualizations based on what type of data you're trying to look at here. So I'll keep SMS here, and I'll do it by date. And then we can do this week. So there's a visualization of what has gone in and out this week. Then we have by lead status. Oops, excuse me. So this Explorer view here shows you the SMS that have been sent out by different lead status. So what's good about this is that you may be sending a lot of SMS back and forth with a customer, or maybe somebody that's qualified. This gives you a good idea of the volume across the different stages of your lead status funnel. So if you realize that, hey, we're sending a lot of SMS, at the top of the funnel, or we're just actually sending all of them when they're customers, it just gives you a better idea of what the brunt of people's time is being spent. And you can also chop that up by sent or received. The other is, and this is going to vary depending on how you have your custom field set up, but what's interesting too is that if you declare where your leads come from using custom fields, you can actually see which SMS gets better responses or gets more responses based off of the different lead sources that come in. So definitely try to use the custom fields as a way to look at Explorer. So that's some Explorer examples. The coolest part of this, and I think this is the best way to grasp the funnel or visualize the funnel of what's happening based off of a type of outreach that you're doing. So prior to the webinar, I set up a smart view called SMS sent this month, and you can see the query up here, and I will copy this into the chat as well. This search query shows me all the SMS that have been sent this month, and I created a smart view. And now in the status change reporting, I can look at the SMS sent this month. I'm just setting the smart view here. I can have it this month because I want to see all the activity that happened this month. And I click on potential, This shows within the 42 leads that have been sent an SMS that were potential, I see where the funnel goes. So we see that 15 of them eventually became qualified, some were bad fit, and then some were customers. So if you compare this to emails that you sent out or calls, you can start to grasp or understand how SMS is affecting your overall funnel as you make changes. Now, I'm not saying that this view means that SMS is the only reason why they became a customer qualified. It's just there was an SMS as part of the activity, and this is what it looks like on those leads that have had SMS applied to it. So that's how a status change report can work. But the key here with status change reports is you really need to utilize the smart views to sort of chop the leads up or have the right number of the specific types of leads that you're trying to look at so you can get the right funnel information. So that is reporting. And I'm going to take a look at any questions that have popped up. I think I saw one. Okay, scrolling up here. Okay, Jeff says, no, I already answered that one about SMS templates. Okay, Jeff, what's best practice? Should I include my name and company? I'm gonna come to that next, but I can answer this quickly. When you are sending cold outreach for the first time and they don't know who it is, you should definitely say, hey, my name is Jeff at X company, so they know. Because you just imagine you're receiving a text from a random number, you don't know who it is, or they may respond with, who is this? So you could try it without your name in the company just to get a response, and they would say, who is this? But once they realize that it's a sales pitch or something like that, that could deter them from replying again. So definitely test that out. I'm actually kind of curious to see what people's reaction would be. It's sort of making them almost fall for opening the email when you have a clever subject line. It's kind of similar. So Maria asks, oh, this is added context. Okay, we monitor sales activities based on the number of calls and emails. Where will SMS fall part of their activity? So, Maria, I think the way to answer your question is that it's in the activity reporting below. So you have the calls and emails, and then you have SMS. I'm not sure I'm answering your question, so feel free to please email me with more context, or I can attempt to answer it then. So apologies if I'm not answering your question. And Mike asked for your Zapier integration. Did you enable outbound SMS as an action? Mike, that is actually in the last stages of being tested right now. I imagine that's going to be live in the next week or so. I just got a message the other day from our lead engineer on SMS, and that is coming out. It's been a big request from us internally, so that is going to come out soon, Mike, and we'll let you know. Great question so far. I love it. So let's go to best practices. We're moving right along here. So what I wanted to do with this is just give really high level, just really practical advice about using SMS in B2B sales. And this is more around how to introduce it into your sales process, namely to sales reps that are going to be getting their hands on this tool for the first time. That's something I think that's really critical to figuring out if SMS is going to work for you. So that's where a lot of this advice comes from. That's the back context there. So let's start with 5 basic rules. Let's make it simple if we want to follow how Stelly likes to put a lot of his content. Just trying to learn from the master here. But the 5 rules I would go by is, at first at least, avoid using SMS as the first touch or cold outreach. It's very personal, an SMS. It's coming into their phone. They're not going to know who the number is. You don't have permission to reach out to them yet, so it's almost as personal as a cold call, but there's not much context added to it. You can't really explain yourself in a 1,000-character text message like you can on a phone call. There's less empathy there or context because it's just text. So it's something that in my opinion, or in Close.io's opinion, try to avoid this as a first touch mechanism. Which brings us to rule number 2 is mainly use this or try to insert this for follow-ups and scheduling. So just to go through a common use case here is you get a hold of the contact via call or email, or you met them at a conference or something like that, and now it's time to schedule something or something's already scheduled. You would use SMS to get their attention to make sure that they're going to show up. So it's meant to increase the likelihood of them taking the next step in your funnel. That's what it's there for. That was the intent when we built it, and that what we believe is the intent of the main swath of the people that use Close.io. So that's the primary use case. Now, in terms of inserting it into your sales process, which is rule number 3, you have to use it with an existing workflow or sequence. There's different names for this. So if you think about your sales process right now, you may send a call. You may send a cold email. If they don't respond, you send a cold or you make a cold call, and then sometimes they respond or not. And then when maybe you get a hold of them and you're going to schedule something, try scheduling it through SMS. With half the people that that go through that sequence. So just try to insert it into the sequence. Continue to do what you've been doing before, because you need a benchmark to evaluate against. Don't just go 100% this. So kind of use SMS as the B in the A/B test and put it into it. And then the 4th and 5th ones are just practical ones. Get in the habit of asking if they want text, calls, or emails. This really helps build rapport and helps you understand the best way that they like to work or communicate. So really get in the habit. And then once they become customers, log that as a custom field in Close.io to see their preference. So the support team or the customer success team or whoever else is reaching out to customers on your team, they know the best way to get a hold of them. And then also from a marketing perspective, you can really understand how they want to be contacted. And the 5th one is ask them to add your number. It's interesting. SMS is going to be used a lot on, obviously this is going to be going to their mobile phones. So when you text them or you call them and you're doing it through your Close.io number, say, hey, if you prefer text, I'm going to start texting you when there's updates or whatever, something happens. So please add add my number here to your contact list so you know who it is when I reach out, and then you're permanently in their contact book, and you're good to go. So that's the little 5 rules that I've put together here. And another point here is, and this goes out to the sales managers in this webinar right now that are going to try to add this as a tool for their sales team, or for you if you're a sales development rep or you're an account exec, thinking about this. When you're trying to insert this into your process, don't make it casual. So don't just send one every once in a while. Make it a forced part of the sales process or the sales sequence to really figure out if it works or not. Because then if you don't do that, you're just going to get anecdotal information every once in a while from folks. So when you force it into the process, so if you have 100 leads and all 100 were sent an SMS message, that gives you hard data as to what happened, not a situation where, hey, you have SMS in Close.io now, you can send messages when you want and just kind of leave it open. Some people are going to use it heavily, some people aren't going to use it at all, and it's going to be really difficult to try and understand how it fits into how it fits into your process. So if you're going to go for it, go all in and really make sure that your team is sending out the messages at the right parts of the funnel that you want them to. And review the results. And the way I would review this, just as a high-level question, do we have a better response rate than an email or call? That's the obvious one, but I think the more really deep one is, are more people showing up to meetings because I'm sending them text messages? Are our show-up rates better? Are when people become customers, did they receive an SMS or not when they were being onboarded? Look for things like that to see, if there's any type of characteristics you can find about somebody in your funnel based on them receiving a text message or not. So that's the advice there. And finally, we have a case study up on our blog. I will share the link to that, so you can go check that out. And it will also be in the email that I send out with the recording of this. But House Call Pro, great customers of ours, they sell to small businesses. So this is 1 to 20 employees. So they're dealing with the owner who's probably on the run a lot. These are local brick and mortar businesses that they're talking to. So it really is. SMS is a great use case for them, and they were using SMS pretty heavily before we built it. So they were using us using it in beta, and they were able to give us some good insights into what happened. So Roland at House Call really gives some great information in this Q&A that we did for him. We highly recommend that you check that out. And basically, through the advice that he has laid out and them using SMS and Closeo, they've been able to see that SMS has increased their close rate by 15%. So when they use SMS in the sales process on a particular customer, they're 15% more likely to close. That's what they've had. And then another aside is that they also are getting 25 to 50% increase in response rates through doing it through Closeo, because they don't have to switch to sending it from their phone or Google Voice or some other app. They don't have to switch context. They just stay right there in Closeo. They send the message and it's done. So that probably has increased the number of messages that they've sent, because it's easier to send one, and that's led to better reach rates. So that is about all I have on the content side of this. So are there any questions? Oh, yep, I see some popping in here. So Steve, if you type out a link in an SMS message, will it open for customers as a clickable link or simple text? If you put in a link and they're using a modern phone, it should just appear as a link and they should be able to click on it, because the operating system of the phone knows to detect links, and it'll pop up. If they're on an iPhone, it'll pop up Safari, and it should work. Hopefully that answers your question. I know we touched on canned spam earlier, but in your opinion, would you add message and data rates may apply? I wouldn't. The perspective that we're coming at with this is B2B sales, but if your service or your product or some aspect to what you're doing involves a lot of back and forth of text messages, then you may want to put that in as a disclaimer. But other than that, I would not. Then Graham asks a great question. Do you have any examples of integrating SMS that did not go well? We don't as of yet. If I were to say anything, I would be making it up. But that's something that we should go out and find. So if any of you go out and try SMS and you have a terrible time with it, definitely let us know, and we can have a better answer for Graham in the future. And then Graham asks again, well, let me go to Maria's first. Maria, you said we have 1,000 free messages per month. Is that per company or per person? That is per company. That is per company. There is a article that talks about billing in the Help Center. So if you go to help.close.io and you see the SMS section, you'll see the billing where you can add a spending limit. And then Graham asked, at what level organization size do you think SMS is appropriate or inappropriate? Sorry. If your target customer is sitting at their desk and that's how you're going to interact with them, like they're in an office and they're sitting there, you probably want to use email or calling as like a first try. Then once you establish a connection with them, basically that you confirm them and start to build rapport, then you can start sending SMS if that's their preferred way of receiving messages. So I don't think of it as you know who in the who in the business are you contacting in terms of their title. I don't really. I think people are just different. The CEO may want to text all the time, and then maybe the marketing manager doesn't want text at all. It has nothing to do with what level they're at. It's more about what their preference is. So I think the first place to start is get permission, build rapport first, and then figure out if SMS is their preference of what they would want to receive. Maria, how are we supposed to monitor the number of SMS so we won't exceed or least control costs? So if you go into your billing settings, you will be able to see how many free SMS are left for the company for the month, and then you can also set a spending limit. I will try to get that link for you right here on the fly that will explain this, but basically you have a spending limit that you can set for yourself. Oh, got it right here. And that will show you how you can set up a budget. So by setting up a budget, Maria, you can't go above it. It'll just cut off. And then when somebody tries to send a message when your credits are spent, a pop-up will tell them, hey, you've exceeded it. You can't send it out. And then if they're an admin, they can go adjust it. And if they're not an admin, it will tell them to alert their admin so they can add additional to the monthly budget. So I am going to do one last scroll up and see if any other questions come up. But that concludes the webinar in terms of what I have for you. Thanks so much for attending, and I'll stay on here for a couple more minutes to ask for any lingering questions. But for the rest of you, have a good rest of the day and happy selling.